Hey, Planeswalkers, hope you're doing well and staying safe. Welcome to this week's episode of Friday Night Meta. It's yours truly, Meta Master Mythras, where we break all things down related to Magic the Gathering Arena with statistics, numbers, key decks, and qualitative information to put you on top of your game here, my friends. So appreciate you tuning in. Flip me a like if you enjoyed today's video. If you got questions or comments, let me know down below. On top of that, in the description, you will find the Discord server information and the timestamps where we will take a look back at last week and do a recap. We'll break down best of one statistical analysis. We'll break down best of three. We'll go and cover a key top deck for you here today. And then we'll also take a look at some qualitative information and do a little bit of a retrospective on today's episode. So with that said, Planeswalkers, appreciate you tuning in. Great ways to connect down below. Appreciate that support as well. So let's go ahead and talk about what happened last week. So a couple of key things. This was the first week that we ran with the Magic the Gathering Arena Dungeons and Dragons Adventures in the Forgotten Realms season. As we kicked things off, Life Gain was still hanging in there, but the biggest newcomer is Mono Green Stompy. So we'll certainly take a look at where that is today. Additionally, there was quite a big range in the spread of the win rates. A lot of 60% pluses. So ideally we see that come back to a version of the mean. So we'll take a look and see what's happening there. Then in best of three, we also got some sizable changes. Again, Mono Green Stompy being a big one. And then additionally, Is It Dragons kind of fell off. And Dimmer Control broke into the meta. So really looking forward to seeing what we have going on here today. And the top deck that we covered was Mono Green Stompy because we certainly got a nice upgrade, and that upgrade was with Rumpty's list there, my friends. So something you can certainly check out. So here's what we got going on in terms of best of one today. I'll break it down from a wide view to a more competitive, and then break into each one of these so that you can understand where you might be sitting in the tier in order to hit Mythic if that's your goal. And I was fortunate to do that on live stream this week. So feel free to check that out, and something that I enjoyed doing as well. So here's what we got going on at aggregate level. Mono White Aggro is the top deck. Boros Winota second, pretty much same win rate. Mono White Life Gain right behind there, and the following. Now Mono Red Aggro's actually played the most still. Boros Winota and Mono Green Stompy, and then Mono White Life Gain. So rather interesting to see again that flip. And then as we look at some of the trends here, we see the compression of the decks, but the rising win rate. So typically this means that there are more decks entering into the meta, and our tried and true decks actually increase in win rates collaboratively and move in the same direction. So that's a big thing here to keep in mind. And then we really see Naya Winota taking off across the board here. So that's a big one to pay attention to. Then as we drill into the more competitive scene, which I consider Platinum to Mythic, we begin to see some of these changes here with Boros Winota being the top deck and top played. And then everything else happening, we start to see Naya Winota creeping in there as well instead of Boros. We can see those trends happening again, being a part of that. Boros Winota cooling off, Naya Winota picking up. And then the host of the win rates there as well. But as we blow this back out in best of one, let's go ahead and take a look. We lose that Dimmer Control deck that we're talking about. As we move forward in bronze, this is what we have in C. Boros Cycling being a big piece. Mono Black Aura still in there. Is It Dragons in there? We move to silver. Really starts to shuffle around a little bit. In terms of what's happening, we get to gold. Gold again. Boros Winota starting to be reflective. Meta's starting to become a little bit more reflective of what's going on. Boros Winota, Naya Winota neck and neck here. Mono Red Aggro, Mono Green Stompy doing really well. Again, another take on the trends as those things start to compress. Then as we get to Diamond here, Diamond we look at a little bit differently. We got Mono White Aggro, Mono White Life Gain there is the biggest stacks. Played Boros Winota, Mono Red Aggro. So things to certainly be keeping an eye on. Then as we move into Mythic, my friends, everyone always likes this. So here's what we got going on. Boros Winota, key deck, Mono White Aggro, Naya Winota. And then here at the top end, again, we begin to see how things are shaking out in best of one. Again, very tight in terms of the archetypes and popularity. Now, to forewarn you, it will be a little bit different in best of three. So looking forward to that. And that's a great segue for us today to go do some best of three analysis. So let's blow that back out. We'll go look at best of three. Boom. Naya Winota, huge wins there. Again, a small portion of the meta, but let's keep an eye on how some of this stuff unfolds because it's pretty interesting. Look at that. Mono green Stompy still being really big. We got Sultai Ultimatum starting to creep back up. Naya Winota just explosive, going up in terms of win percent and archetype percent played. So that's a big one to keep an eye on. We see Is It Dragon starting to get a little bit stronger there as well. But here's what we have in aggregate. Naya Winota, Mono White Aggro, Mono Green Stompy, Naya Adventures, I'm in that space, and the rest. And then popularity again, Mono Green Stompy controlling 20% almost of the meta, Sultai Ultimatum, Naya Winota being pretty strong, and then the works there. So as we drill in the more competitive scene, here's what we got going on. Naya Winota moving up, Mono Green Stompy taking over, or continuing to dominate. Win rates going really healthy here for Naya Winota. We got Mono Green Aggro and everything, or Mono Green Stompy, Mono White Aggro, and everything else here. Trends continue to be the same. Let's go ahead and now blow this out one by one. So we're not going to get as much information again because typically it's best of one, but I always like to check to see what's going on. So silver here, we see Dimmer Rogues being a big piece, Mono Red Aggro, Sultai Ultimatum, Is It Dragons still being a thing here. Now we get into gold, we start to see a little bit more Mono White Aggro, Is It Dragons doing well, Mono Red Aggro, and then Mono Green Sultai Ultimatum, Mono Red. Again, 20% is huge. Now we're getting into more of the competitive space. Naya Winota at the top, Mono Green. Dimmer Control did pop in here in terms of win rate as well as popularity. However, the win rate's not been super good there. So that's a big piece. Then we move into Diamond. Diamond looks like this. We see Naya Winota, Mono White Aggro, Is It Dragons, Mono Green Stompy, Sultai Ultimatum, Naya Winota still doing really well. Top 3 decks here that you really got to pay attention to: Mono Green Stompy, Sultai Ultimatum, and Naya Winota. Last but not least, as we move into Mythic, 20% playing Naya Winota. So very small to very big, and still commanding a healthy win rate. We see Jeskai Mutate in here. Lots of folks still playing that in Mythic, so something to keep an eye on. Mono Green Stompy, Naya Winota, Sultai Ultimatum, all big things to manage. We continue to have Mono White Aggro in here. We've talked about keeping an eye on that one as well. So Planeswalkers, that is the best of 1 breakdown. That is the best of 3 breakdown. If you have questions, if you have comments, please don't hesitate to let me know or hop into the Discord server as well. Always love to hear from you. So in terms of this week's deck, the key one here in the story is Naya Winota, and it is that because it has been an absolute explosive deck in the format still. Ironic Velvet has done a great job with it. Certainly back and forth with Rumpty in the 1-to-1 or number 1 competition here, which has been a lot of fun to watch. And I've thoroughly enjoyed covering his deck as well. So this is what we have going on. Big pickup, nice tweaks. In terms of what we're seeing out there right now, biggest pieces being able to play Jasper, Jaspera right off the bat, tapping Magda, doing a host of other things. We got this bad boy Minx in here as well, and a number of other great enablers like Azeka's Chariot and good sideboarding. So I'll pull that up so you can take a look, but that's going to be the key deck. I will have this available to you down below, so if you have questions, if you have comments, let me know. But the deck link is there for you in the description. Then when we look at the matchups, we don't have a ton of data here right now, which is unfortunate. However, we know that they've had to fix a lot of these data collectors. We talked a little bit about that last week. So we'll look forward to the data collection and continuation of these things. But as you can see, the users, particularly on Untapped, are heavily favoring Naya Winota. So I don't think this is all Ironic Velvet here, but you never know. So with that, that is the deck that we wanted to cover today and talk about. Very powerful. More information there for you should you so care for it on the channel. It is available to you. So next, we do want to go break down a couple of tournaments here, and by tournaments I mean one. So there was one big standard tournament here. We have the Big Party Tornado Anniversario by 5CH. So super awesome, 5-color hub. I know you've shouted out at me a few times on Twitter, so thank you. Love what's going on, love what you're coloring. So here's what we got going on today. So this was a fairly large tournament last weekend, and let's take a look at what we got going on. We got Mono Green Aggro taking it down, Sultai Ultimatum, Rule Adventures, Rakdos Sacrifice, moving in there, Sultai Ultimatum, Naya Adventures, Sultai Ultimatum, and Is It Dragons. So what's interesting though is you don't find any of the Naya Winota stuff, but let's go ahead and let's break down some of the percent of the field and see what we get out of this when we look at the most play. Mono Red Aggro, two types of that, or actually looks like it's double counting. Didn't turn out super well, which is unfortunate. Is It Dragons doing okay? Dimmer Rogue's doing okay. And then again, Naya Adventures in there. No Naya Winota, but let's look at win rates and see what had the best. Teamer Adventures, followed by Rakdos Sacrifice. Again, we saw that Rakdos Sacrifice up there. Dimmer Rogues did well in Sultai Control. In this situation, Sultai Titan's Nest there, Orzhov Life Gain, a host of different kind of decks. But those are some of the key things to look at. So when we see this, minus Sultai Ultimatum, a lot of it seems pretty open. Still, so we'll keep an eye on the meta and see how things continue to evolve and go from there, my friends. So that is the key deck that we want to talk about. Mono Green Aggro taking it down. Obviously, Mono Green is still played really, really well in the meta, and we will continue to watch how things evolve. So with that, as we go back to the meta here, a couple notes for next week. We do have a big tournament coming up, SCG 5K, lots of satellites happening, so a number of lists. We'll see how things kind of evolve there next week. So keep an eye on that. Looking forward to seeing what Delmo does. We had a little back and forth today in terms of his Grixis treasure deck. Certainly excited to see if it's a tier 1 list. So we'll see if that happens and then things evolve. I expect coming out of SCG potentially some meta impacts if there are new decks or newcomers that certainly make a difference there. So Planeswalkers, appreciate your support as always. If you have questions, if you have comments, like I say, let me know. Feel free to let me know down below as well. In the details, you'll find the Discord server information, other great ways to support the channel. Thank you always. Big shout outs to the patrons, YouTube members, Twitch subs, all that stuff, and everyone else. I truly humbled by your support always. So thank you. Now, in terms of the channel, make sure you stay tuned and up to date because we got a lot of content here. We got Friday Night Meta episodes on a weekly basis. We do standard top decks, standard 2022 top decks. We got historic coming, jank coming, and then our tier lists. So certainly getting there as we begin to get close to closing out July. We have a lot of fun. Then also I do the live stream. Like I said, I hit Mythic. I've been running like a 65% win rate, which is awesome, and always happy about that kind of stuff. Can't complain. And right on the cusp of top 1500 as well. So we'll see where that goes. But with that, thank you as always, Planeswalkers. Appreciate your support. You stay safe. We'll see you again soon. And until next time, Mythras out.